All right, guys, I hope everything's going well. So I'm watching this get set up. It looks like we're redirecting. It looks like this is working. What's up, YouTube? Hello, thanks so much. Yep, now I gotta figure out how to mute my own voice. There we go. All right. So jumping right into it, because I hate when people do like that super long introduction that's super awkward. So we are doing a review today of the Time to Thrive challenge that Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins are putting on. And let me tell you, it was definitely interesting, to say the least. So there were almost 900,000 people that signed up for this event. I was in a room with about 20,000 people, which was absolutely crazy. They're doing it live. They had some tech issues at the beginning, so it was kind of funny to watch that, because we all have tech issues, of course, right? So what I want to do is I took a bunch of notes. The glare makes it so you can't see it. But anytime, you do any of these trainings, these challenges, take notes. But I know that everyone can't be there. It's in the middle of the day during the week. So what I wanted to do is give a quick 15-minute summary. I'm just going to kind of break down what each of the speakers talk about some of my favorite parts, and then I'm going to give a review of exactly what I thought at the end. And I'll tell you, there was some good, there was some bad, but let's kind of dive into exactly what they talked about. If you guys don't know, if you didn't see it, the Time to Thrive Challenge is basically, things are crazy right now, right? And now more than ever, so many people are just surviving. And they put this event together. Tony Robbins is, I would say, arguably the best business coach on the planet. He's been doing it basically effectively the longest. He had his teaching. He learned from Jim Rohn, so he wasn't the first. But I think he's taken the knowledge and implemented it the best. He's got over 100 companies. He's worth over $7 billion in revenues, what these companies are doing now. And just 10 years ago, 12 years ago, he wasn't anywhere near that. He was just, in the hundreds of millions. It was still a lot, but it's crazy to see how he's changed and developed. So basically how it starts is they did an intro with their, their MC. I was still setting up my computer, so I didn't get to take notes on what she said, but she had some really good points, and I really did wish I wrote it down. But basically how to prepare for the event. And Dean then comes on, and what he talked about was, with almost 1 million people in this online training, right? Everyone has different backgrounds. Everyone has different reasons for being there. What did create all around the world? I think it was 150 different companies or countries people showed up from. And the one thing that brought us all there is that we all know that we're meant for more. We know that there's something inside us that we want to give, that we want to do, that we're not doing. And we're looking for answers and paths and systems on how to get there. And that's exactly what this Time to Thrive challenge, this 5-day challenge, is for. The cool thing about it as well, so everyone that RSVPs, they're donating a meal to Feeding Hungry, which is Tony Robbins' passion project. He wants no people hungry, so everyone that just RSVPs, it's free, donates a meal. If you upgrade to the VIP, he donates 50 meals. And at the time, at the beginning of the day today, they had 2 million meals that they were providing to hungry families, which is amazing. What a great mission. Now, so then he goes on to talk about just really the state of things, right? The last years have just been polarized, whether you pro-mask, anti-mask, pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, this candidate, that candidate, this policy, that policy. Everything's been just so chaotic and polarized that there's nothing but uncertainty right now. And yeah, we're leading into more uncertainty. The economy, I think they announced officially a recession. Everything's more expensive. Gas is still crazy, even though it's gone down a tiny bit. Like, uncertainty is here and it's not going away. And what he said is basically you have two choices. You can either prepare for more uncertainty or you can react when it happens. And I thought that was such a bold statement. Now, just so you know, if you don't have a pen and paper, get one like now. Just pause this if you're not watching it live, but I'm just gonna go rapid fire through here, and this is all the stuff you want in your notebook. So you can either prepare or you can react. And getting into the knowledge business is the best preparation you can do for the uncertain economic times. He quoted Wayne Gretzky, so where I'm paraphrasing, Wayne Gretzky basically said he became the best hockey player at his time because he actively trained himself to anticipate where the puck was going instead of where the puck has been. The self-education industry is exactly that. Currently, it is exponentially growing. I didn't write down the numbers of it, but it's past $1 billion per year. Yeah, something crazy high. I should have written that number down. But Forbes expected it to be $1 billion industry in like 5 years, and it's past that much quicker. And a lot of that is due to the coronavirus. Now, so basically, he then quoted Warren Buffett says, one of the best investors, there's two things that anyone should do during a recession. Number one, you need to invest in yourself and your own skills. And number two, you need your own business that doesn't have a lot of expenses. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Tony Robbins talked about it much more in depth. But what that is, what we can do right now to prepare is we have the most valuable asset in the world, which is our own knowledge. So learning how to take our knowledge and turn it into something that provides value for other people is the absolute thing everyone can and should be doing right now in preparation for the economic uncertainty coming up. Basically, what they want to do in day one, Dean says, is they want to cover the why now, why this, and why you, right? So he dives into this tomorrow. Well, in a second. And a lot of people, we're all here because we know we want to do something. But the thing that stops us is, again, uncertainty and fear and wondering if this is something we could do. But he challenged us. He says, instead of saying, I don't think I can do this, say, I wonder if I could do it. If this is something I could do, if this is a way I could earn income in the knowledge industry, in the self-education industry, is that something that I could do? Ask that question, keep that kind of frame of mind while you're going through this. And then he talks about, like, the reason it's so important is because how valuable would it be to you if you could prepare for 2 days, if you had 2 days of preparation, and then you could go back in time 10 years and talk to yourself? What would you teach yourself? What would you show yourself? What are the things, if you could just do that, how valuable would that be to the 10-year-ago you? Priceless, essentially. Or it could be monetarily valuable. Invest in this, don't invest in that. Emotionally valuable. Don't get too attached to this person. Get attached to this person. Don't let this person fall through your fingers, right? Become better at this skill. Do this. How cool would it be if you could go and influence your past self? That's what the self-education industry does. So it takes our knowledge, which is here, and helps someone else who might be just a little bit below us, and it helps bridge that gap. And that is value. It saves time, heartache, and just pain, really. So, and basically, he talks about another thing he says. They were going through tech issues, so he was kind of jumping around, which I completely relate to. He says, basically, we're all here for one of two reasons. We're either tired of something that's painful in our life. We're sick of something that sucks. And I really hope my volume's up. Okay. I forgot to check it earlier. But we're either sick of something that's in our life and we want to fix it, or we want to run towards something that we know is better. We know we're worth more. We know we should be at the next level and we're not there yet. And sometimes it's a good, healthy mix of both. But it's one of those two things that are our driving force. Now, Dean shared a story about when he was growing up. I'm not going to go deep into a story because you can hear those. And I'm sure you'll hear it again when you jump on and sign up tomorrow. But basically, he started out just selling cars. I think he started out like as a mechanic, and then he started kind of selling used cars. And then he ended up doing pretty well with that. And when he was running a car dealership, he ended up investing in a Tony Robbins course. Back in the day, back in the 90s, you would like sign up, you had to call this number and they would send you a bunch of VHSs. So this is what he ended up getting. And so he invested, who knows how much money it was, but he invested in a course from Tony Robbins. And the number one thing that stuck out to him, because again, Dean did not have money growing up. He had a lot of struggle. He was dyslexic. And other things, he tells stories about how just rough school was. But what Tony told him in that course, decades ago, was that life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. And that was a message he really took to heart. And he says, all of these things that happened to me happened for me for a reason. And he took that and said, I can take these things and I can turn this into something I can teach and relate to and connect with other people. And at this point, he decided he wanted to take his knowledge with the car industry and turn it into something to help other people make more money. And back then, he put together a course, he called it Motor Millions. And this was a course where he basically showed people how to use a technique he developed using classified ads, whatever those are, to sell used cars, to buy and resell used cars for cheaper than other people can do it. And so he's putting all this energy into this course that he made. He had to, again, this is back in the day, so he had to buy like a freaking TV spot, and he had to like spend all this money to get it edited and actually create it, because we couldn't just digitally do all these things. And then to the point where his sister came out and she was like, dude, bro, this is a waste of money. It's a waste of time. What are you doing? Who do you think you're trying to like sell this to? What are you going to be like the next car guru expert out there? I'm trying to think of our car guys, but I can't think of their names right now. But you always see their commercials. It's like, are you trying to be those guys? You're not going to be that. And so he had to take a step back and be like, what am I doing? And the clarity came to him. And this is something that I need to be reminded over and over. So I love hearing these stories, even though I've heard them before, because the clarity came to him that he wasn't trying to sell, he wasn't trying to create the world's best car dealership. He wasn't trying to create the fanciest cars. He's not trying to like restore old cars to perfection. He developed a single skill to help an average person buy and sell a used car and make an extra, $500 to $1,000 a month, which is significant. That's a significant amount of money. It's not $1 million. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, but $500 a month, $40 a month, that's impactful. And he's not trying to reach 1 million people. He's just trying to reach, dozens. And scaling that mindset back of like, if I have knowledge that I want to share, it doesn't have to be for everybody. It doesn't have to be this grand, big idea. It can just be something that helps a few people that they find valuable. And in turn, I can make some income that helps me out, which I think scaling it down, I think is really helpful. I'm going to try and speed through the rest of these notes because I said 15 minutes. We might be closer to 30. So just give me, I'll crank through this. So write faster. All right. So So yeah, he realized he didn't have to teach everyone everything about everything there was to sell. He just needed to show them how to do one thing. And again, the knowledge industry is all about whenever we think like, maybe I don't have anything to teach. We all have like a mess in our lives. We've all overcome something. And if we can turn that into a message that helps someone, that's of value. The knowledge industry is the bridge in the middle of the mess and the message. And it's your experience helping someone not have to go through that pain that you went through. And that's what this whole 5-day challenge is about. So the next 4 days are exactly about how to do that, the actual steps on what to do and how to do it, what to sell, who to sell it to, and how to message it. Then the big guy comes up, Mr. Tony Robbins himself, which, he's been around forever. And this is something I often say, it's like most of the coaches out there right now are just teaching some form of what Tony Robbins has taught, whether he pioneered it or whether he taught it, whether he was reteaching Jim Rohn stuff. We got Charlie over here. You want to say hi, Charlie? No, camera shy. No, Charlie. He says hi, camera shy. I'm camera shy. You want to spin it? So yeah, so it's like whenever doing any of these things, granted, other people, their voice resonates a little bit different. Jenna Kutcher is very different than Gary Vaynerchuk, who's very different than, say, like Brandon Bouchard, right? They all have their own type of voice, and that's great. But I love hearing from Tony Robbins because he's essentially like the father of all of this in the practical world, not in like the modern times, I would say. So Tony comes up and he actually ended up talking about his origin story, which if people follow him, you might have heard, but there's a lot of people out there who haven't and don't really know this about Tony. So really he started out that just really, again, reiterating that as bad as COVID's been for the past 2.5, almost 3 years now, it has accelerated the knowledge business exponentially. So it allows you and me, just literally anyone, to do the same thing that took Tony Robbins decades to learn, like literal decades it took him to learn and implement, we can actually do in just hours to minutes. And he says, without exaggeration and without hyperbole, we can now do what took him decades. I thought that was a really cool statement. And it's one word that will get us to places you couldn't possibly imagine, get you to a life that you could not even begin to comprehend of how great it can be. And that one word is progress. But again, he goes to talk about how progress isn't just instant. It takes training to train ourselves how to make progressive steps every day. It's not just something that happens right away. He talked about, I'll kind of skip through this because this story is kind of everywhere, but he talked about when he was young and how he got into the knowledge industry. It was essentially he was working for an employer who was buying and selling real estate. And so Tony was like carrying stuff because he was like, I think 17 or something at the time. And so he was just moving things. And he's like, hey, he asked the owner, he's like, how did you get so successful? And the owner says, well, you know what? Honest to God, I went to a seminar. Tony said, cool. What's a seminar? Because they didn't know what, that wasn't a thing. You know, that wasn't standard vocabulary back then. And he goes on to tell him he went, the owner of the business went to a Jim Rohn seminar. And he was like, man, that sounds really cool. Do you think you could get me into one of these seminars? And then the guy said, he's yeah, I totally can, but I won't. And Tony was like, yeah, why? He's like, well, if I just get you into it, you're not going to value it. It's $30, which was probably, $300 or something back then. It was a week's worth of Tony's pay as a janitor, which he was working back then. Tony lived in his car. He was a janitor, made $30 a week, man. And the guy said, hey, yeah, just figure it out, go to the seminar, and you'll see. So he ended up doing that. He had to decide, but he ended up going to the seminar. And he just loved it. So it was the Jim Rohn seminar. And he was furiously taking notes. He was like, man, this is the best thing I've ever heard. This is amazing. He says, Jim, after the seminar, he came up to him and says, Jim, I am destined for great things. I am so pumped up. Let me come work for you. And Jim Rohn said, basically, he says, you know, I would love to have you come work for me, but there's a process. You have to kind of go through all of my courses. You have to know the material, which means you have to buy the courses and go through it. And Tony said, he's like, well, you know, I would love to do that. Like, I'm going to do it. I just don't have any money. And Jim Rohn said, well, basically, you know, I believe you. You seem enthusiastic, but I'm sorry. If you really want to do it, you'll figure it out. And without going through the rest of the story, essentially, Tony had to become really resourceful. At first, he left mad. He left mad like, you know, this Jim Rohn guy's a hack. He just wants money. He doesn't actually even care about us. This is so stupid. I'm willing to give my time, my effort, my energy, and he still wants me to buy his course. And then simmered down for a little bit, probably sat on it for a couple of days, and he realized like there were people being successful going through this course. The guy he was working for, he was successful because of this course, and he just thought, man, maybe there's something to it. So he became resourceful. Tony became resourceful. He figured out how to get the money. And he ended up doing that. And essentially the rest is history. He went to every course. He took notes furiously. He implemented everything as he learned it. And now we have the Tony Robbins who has over 100 different companies operating $7 billion annually from a dude living in his car, you know, just with nothing. And that is amazing, because it really can be all of us. We just have to invest, we have to do it, and we have to implement. Another thing Tony said, actually, let me just kind of let it slip out, was he says, at the end of this 5 days, I want you to have a new life. He says, I know that's a bold statement and a big claim, but I want you to have a new life. And I honestly feel like what I do is I follow trends. I run a mastermind group. I do some business consulting as well. And I like following trends, and I love the personal development world. In 2008, like after 2008, I felt a real shift in Tony Robbins's messaging. He became much more upfront, honest, and straightforward. Kind of before that, he was still kind of that fluff motivational guru. Granted, he had a lot of practical steps. But the 2008 recession, this is my pure speculation, is that it just made him really angry at how manipulative the average person is, how a handful of people can bankrupt our economy essentially forever, and no one can do anything about that. And I feel like after that, his message really changed and became a lot more direct and straightforward, and really dedicated into helping the everyday person kind of get to that next level, where before he was doing just a lot of like $1 million coaching and just helping the elite. I feel like he really came back and became much more relatable and honest. And so kind of one thing that he talks about, and so I just feel the genuineness in when he says, I want to change all of your lives in 5 days. There's a genuineness when he says that I don't think was there 12, 14 years ago. And so with the knowledge industry, the other big reason he was telling the story was Tony didn't start with all of this knowledge. He started as what he called a knowledge broker. So even for us out there who are thinking, okay, maybe we don't have an idea, maybe I don't know my message, we can use other people's messages. We can bring things that we value and respect and things we align with, and we can help share another message and still make an income and spread value that way. So that's kind of, and that's in 2008, Tony Robbins came out with his book, where he was just interviewing the world's top financial leaders because he saw the crash. And it's what, like $20, $30 book. So he put those lessons of how to make, like how to get through a bad economy. And he brought it to everyday people in a $30 book, right? And then he actually implemented it himself and this is why I actually really respect him, because a lot of other gurus, they have the knowledge, but they haven't implemented it like he has. So after 2008, he took that, and that's what scaled him from 100 million to 7 billion in revenue, which is crazy to me. So, and then again, he brings it back. Like, yeah, he's at this level now. He talks to tens of thousands of millions of people. But his first event, he rented out like a Hilton hotel. It seated 500 people. He paid for ads. He paid for like a TV spot. He had flyers and pamphlets everywhere. He was expecting to get hundreds of people. 7 people showed up, but he still gave it his all. The quote he said was, even if you go out to feed the cattle and only 1 cow shows up, you're still going to feed it, right? And so he just gave his all to those 7 people. And this is just kind of the path that led him to where he is today. So they also talked about some crazy statistics. And this is what got me interested in the self-education movement in the first place. Because I think we all inherently know that the American education system is broken. And here are some insane statistics. So Americans right now have $1.7 trillion in school debt. $1.7 trillion. That's more than all of our auto loan debt. That's billions more than what we're in debt for our auto loans. And if you think about all of the cars out there, with most of them having a car note on them, it's insane that we're that in debt for school. And with that, of the people who have degrees that went into debt for school, that got their degree, 77% of them do not work in the industry that they got their degree in. 70% of them, 77% of them don't work in the field they got their degree, that they went into debt for. They don't work there. And that's 3 out of 4 people don't even use this thing that they went into just ridiculous debt for. And of the people that do, of the, the 23% or whatever that do work in the field that they got their degree in, 50%, half of them hate their job. Half of them hate it, but they can't leave because they are either too invested, just societal pressure, it's a good job, they've got to pay off their debt, or they don't have any other skills. That's all that they know, is their only plan, and they don't know what else to do. So half of them don't even like it. There's something deeply, deeply wrong with that system. And I think we really, really know it. And at this point, I think we're all really, really aware of that. And we would just rather, as collectively, more people are much more willing to learn from someone who's right there or just a few steps ahead of them than some big expert who's got all these degrees and they're snooty but they're still removed from what they're actually teaching. So that is that. I'm going to skip the rest of these for time because we talked about what Warren Buffett said, but now is the time. Oh man, yeah. So basically Tony Robbins then goes into talk about just how over the next 5 days, every skill and every technique needed to enter this industry in a positive way is going to be taught to us. Now, what gets in the way of us actually doing it is 2 things: fear and a false belief. How do you fix that? So what gets in the way? Fear and a false belief. What gets in the way? Courage and a new belief. He gave us 3 mandates if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to do the things that you do. If you want to lead by example, there's 3 ways that you stick it out and you get there. So step number 1 is, I lost my place, hold on. Okay, step number 1 is you need to see the world as it is and not worse than it is. This is another thing I have a really hard time with, especially in the last year or 2. I have been catastrophizing things probably a lot more than I should be. So seeing the way the world is, because you need to have a good, honest look at where we are and not worse. Because if we see it as worse, we're not going to want to take the action to get to that goal that we want. The second thing, step number 2, is we want to be able to see it getting better. So we want to see the world the way it is, and we have to have the vision of seeing how it gets better. If we can't see it getting better, we're not going to take the effort to try and make it better. Again, this is something I've had a problem with lately, and I realize I need to work on that. The third thing is then you need to take active steps to make it the way that you see it. And this is the entrepreneur's journey. We see the world as it could be, not as it is, and we're taking the steps to get there. But the thing with taking the steps is you need a good plan, a good action plan on how to do it. You need the right strategy and the right model. And that's exactly what this course is for, this 5-day challenge is for. So he also talked about something huge. We live in the information age is gone. We like to think we're in an information age because everything's connected, but it's actually the age of attention. Everyone wants our attention, which is why I'm doing this super fast summary. Super fast-ish summary. But then again, so he also says a big quote is avoid the tyranny of how. The most successful people in the world decide on what they want to do, and they don't worry about the how. They just worry about that they need to get it done. They have the hunger of what they want to get it done. When we start worrying about how, we start getting afraid and we start thinking about why not or what's not going to work. You have to keep that vision. And then I want to go into 3 limiting beliefs. The 3 limiting beliefs that stop people, or 4 limiting beliefs that stop people from doing these things that we really, really want to do. So number 1, you're going to think that no one wants to listen to me. That is absolutely not true. And we mentioned it earlier. People would rather now listen to someone who's just a couple of steps ahead of them than someone who's like some fancy expert that's so far removed. And again, so this is one reason I do like Tony Robbins, is because he's essentially like the best in the top, and he's done all of the work. However, I do prefer listening to someone who's like maybe a year ahead of me, who's way less expensive, who's not $1 million or $100,000 for an hour of their time, who is maybe $100. But they're like a year ahead of me, so they're much more in tune with what it is. What I do is I help people like set up their businesses with the actual systems and processes. So I help navigate through like the MailChimp and the CRM, and like I'm on a Zoom call with them because it's the same stuff I'm doing, right? Like I've been doing it for a few years now, and I'm just happen to like know all the tips and tricks and shortcuts because I've been there. You'll be there soon too, right? So either learn from the absolute best or someone like a step ahead of you. And you're a couple steps ahead of other people on other things in your life. Now, another thing is I have nothing to share. Again, we talked about it. Your mess is your message. If there's something weird in your life that was weird that you've gone through, that is the message that someone else needs to hear. Someone else is currently going through it and needs your support. People say they're scared of selling. That's number 3. Scared of selling? Selling is dead, guys. Selling is gone. It's no one wants to be sold, and selling doesn't work. Sharing a message you're passionate about works. We now can connect to the people who have the same passion. That's the benefit of technology. Nothing has to be sold. We can just share what we like. And then number 4 is I'm not tech savvy. That's one I hear a lot. If you are watching this YouTube video, you are tech savvy enough to own your own knowledge business. You've got all of the skills. It's not that complicated anymore. Things have gotten so freaking easy. And then he left us with some homework, and this is what I'll go through. Number 1, the homework is write down 2 things that you would like to be different in 6 to 12 months. Not some big audacious goal, just something quick and easy. My 2 things were have $2,000 in passive income once again, and get 2 working vehicles. So 2 goals that you can implement in the next 6 to 12 months. Then under each one of those goals, you want to write down why each of those is a must in your life. Because it funds my lifestyle and because I need reliability. That's like the one thing I rely on is like just having that freedom of a working vehicle. I need that, dude. So number 1, 2 goals. Number 2, why each one is a must. Number 3, what has kept you from reaching that goal in the past? So number 3 is what has kept you from reaching that goal in the past. Number 4, what needs to change now to get those goals? Number 4, what needs to change now to get those goals? Number 5, probably the most important one, what are 2 action steps you can take today to get closer to those goals? What's one big action step and one small action step? This video is one of my action steps. And then actually the most important one is end with 3 moments in your life that you're grateful for. What are 3 things in your life, 3 situations, 3 just current things in your life that you are actually currently or in the past were grateful for? It's a perfect way to end. It's a very Tony Robbins kind of thing. After that, Jenna Kutcher came up. We're going to go through hers quick, which is really unfair to make someone like present after Jenna Kutcher or after Tony Robbins. Like, that's such an unfair place to be. But I would absolutely say she freaking killed it. She absolutely slayed. She it's a freaking queen, man. She did so good, and I was so unexpectedly impressed with her presentation. She talked a little bit about her story, which I'll gloss over. She started in corporate America, but the trigger for her was she was doing really well. They were excited. Her boss brought her into her office, and she's like, "Girl, you're doing so great. What I've done is I've laid out a 5-year plan with our company, and we are so pumped to see you go through this plan. You're going to move up the ranks, and this is going to be awesome." And that, like, though it should have been great, it didn't exactly sit well with her. And she realized, like, she's like, I don't know what I want, she says, but I know I didn't want that. I didn't want someone else planning my life for me. She wanted to be in control of her 5-year plan. And that's a message that she continued to say, like, if you don't take active steps, someone else is planning your life for you, whether you want it or not, you know? If you're not actively doing the work, someone else is doing it for you. She also made a really, really good point that was just such a unique perspective, that a lot of people resist change, not because they're actually scared of change, but they will be scared of how others that are close to them currently will perceive them after they've made a change in their life. And I thought that was such a neat perspective, because we want to fit in with our group so bad, right? And so a lot of people, once they start to grow, once they start to change, they'll get pushback from their closest friends and family. Like, you don't need to change, you're fine, it's okay. You know, you don't need to do that. You don't need to lose weight. You don't need to make more money. I love you the way you are, right? And that's not necessarily negative. Like, they're not like negatively tearing you down. They just are okay with you the way that you are. And when we start to change, they can feel separation and get scared and want to pull you back. And she said, let me take it a step further though. Like, what if instead of worrying about other people leaving you, what if you could inspire them to change too? What if what you were doing was done in such a way that you brought those others in your life up with you, that you could all grow together? Like, how exciting would it be to do that? And I just thought that was a really cool way to think of it. And then she said, if you can't see yourself doing in 5 years what you're doing right now, the only thing you need to invite into your life is change. Just invite it in and nurture that. Transform from someone surviving into someone who is thriving. And then she also told a story about how she was getting a massage, and the massage therapist said, she said, can I share something with you? I'm kind of intuitive, and I just feel something. Are you okay with me sharing it? And Jenna said, yeah. And so the massage therapist, she said, so I feel in your body that there's something that you know that you need to do, and you're avoiding it. And she said that just hit her so hard. And it hits me hard because it's so, and I think it's so true for so many of us. We know that there's something we need to do. We know that we're made for more. We know there's something in there for us. and we're avoiding it for some reason. And so she says, like, if you're a person who just feels like you're doing so much all of the time, you're constantly busy and you're always running around, but you still feel like you're missing that thing in your life, it's because you're avoiding the thing that you need to do. And you have permission. We're giving you permission. That 5-day challenge is about getting permission and the skills to go do that thing. I think that's so amazing. The other thing that I really took away from her was she actually does really well. She's got like a #1 podcast and she does all kinds of cool things. #1 best-selling book now. But she was like, so Tony, Dean, she's like, I love that you guys have these billion-dollar companies, but she says, that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm going for. She wants that quality. She's a wonderful mother, a wonderful wife, and she wants to spend that time with her family. She just wants to make enough money, enough income that she can take a month off whenever she wants to, that she can do these cool things, help inspire other people, but also have all of the time with her family that she could possibly want. And she's living that life. And she didn't even talk about her story, but it all started because she bought a camera on Craigslist and started taking a few pictures and then taught some people how to take pictures. And now she's like the #1, one of the top female entrepreneurs in the entire world. Absolutely amazing. And just going back to it, passion is contagious. Sharing a dream or a goal, if you're actually passionate, that's what's contagious. That's what inspires other people to be passionate and go for their goals. And that is, that's how we bring others up with us, is being passionate and sharing and inspiring. So she says, make a declaration today. Share it somewhere that you are undergoing a journey. Share your passion of what you want to bring to the world. And that's what's going to bring everybody up. So that was it. I think that's not 15 minutes, but it's close. I'll get better at it next time. So we do have some homework. So you go to thrivehomework.com. They're giving away a bunch of prizes. Honestly, the easiest thing, I'm going to put the link in the live when this goes up. But the link, just go sign up for the course, you guys. It's totally free. If you get the VIP, it's $47. Oh yeah, and so they did say tomorrow's going to be the last day to get the VIP, and that you get. So you do get recordings every day, but the VIP, you get to keep it. You get downloadable copies. You also get 50 meals donated in your name to Feeding America. You get a backstage Q&A, which is always awesome. So it's like a one-on-one with Tony Robbins and Dean, it's like a small group Q&A. You get an extra training. Last year it was $197 to level up. You have the sun coming in the window here. Last year, basically $200 to sign up. This year it's $47. It's $47 to upgrade. It's basically nothing. But even if you don't, just RSVP. Get in this training, because if you can't make it live, I'll do a short summary every day, or you can watch the replay, which again, they are way better speakers than me. Honestly, what I will tell you, and so to give a quick, honest review, I think this is honestly the best training for anyone who's looking to be an entrepreneur or looking to turn something they're passionate about into a business. It's step by step. It's by Tony Robbins, who I argue is the best business guy out there. Dean Graziosi, who I believe is the best marketer out there, and just loaded with other experts in their field. I did feel that Tony's presentation was a little watered down. I don't think it was his best, most like raw content, but again, these are a bunch of new people who might not know exactly who he is and exactly what his voice is. So I think it makes sense, but I prefer just like how he's been presenting, the last few years. And I just don't feel like he was that Tony Robbins on this presentation, but we'll see. We'll see when he comes back in the next couple of days, if he's just a little bit more upfront and honest. It's kind of hard to be like that in your face on day one, right? Dean did a great job. He didn't talk too long, which he tends to do. Jenna Kutcher just killed it. Like, even if you just sign up to watch Jenna's presentation because you've heard Tony's stuff before, Jenna did amazing, way better than I would have anticipated. I'm excited to see kind of what comes next in the next few days with the actual practical steps and skills. This was to set in the mindset that, hey, you have a passion, like this is something you can do. You can create value for the world with the knowledge that's in your head. And I think they completely accomplished what they set out to accomplish. I loved the exercise. I hope you wrote that one down, because that one exercise is just absolutely great for setting that vision. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here because I went way longer than I meant to, but descriptions, how to sign up is in the links, is in the bio or the comments or the wherever you see stuff on the thing. And thanks for watching for the handful of you that did. I don't need to reach millions of you. I don't even need to reach thousands or even hundreds. So if it was just a few of you who checked this video out, I deeply appreciate you. And we'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thanks, guys.